welcome to Stay Paid, your number one sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals, keep more clients, and build the life of freedom you're working towards. But that can only happen if you are willing to take action today. My name is Josh Steich, Chief Marketing Officer at Reminder Media, joined as always by Luke Acree, President of Reminder Media. And our guest today is Leah Kraemer. Leah is the owner of a Realty One Group branch and a 21-year veteran of the real estate industry based in Goodyear, Arizona. Since launching her branch in 2014, she has led her team to break every production record in the Southwest Valley while cultivating a dedicated following of agents through her leadership, which I believe wear shirts that say, "I love Leah." I had to include this part. Leah lives by the personal manifesto. I love this. Live a life of outrageous adventure, do all the things, eat all the food, and nose boop all the wild animals. Leah, welcome to Stay Paid. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. We also had in your bio that you are boldly authentic. You are a boldly authentic firecracker. And so, yes, I'm curious. You've broken every record, right, at your branch. But yet I feel like you're doing it your own way versus maybe fitting into the mold. And I'm just curious of like what you would tell other team leaders, branch managers of what has led to being able to have such a successful branch.
Yeah, man, my poor boss, right? Like the president of the company, he just doesn't even know what to do with me anymore. So I think it's just let her run wild. It seems to be working. No restraints.
Clean up the pieces afterwards. Clean up.
I mean, she hasn't been arrested yet, so I think we're safe. No, in all seriousness, and that's what anybody would say. I do my own thing, even through my social media posts. I mean, it might be about my perimenopause symptoms this morning, might be about my favorite toilet paper, it might be about a squirrel. You just never know what you're going to get. But ultimately, I think that my weirdness attracts other weirdness. And there's a lot of weirdos in real estate. So I think just putting it out there and being whoever you are, you're just naturally going to attract others.
There are a lot of weirdos in real estate, that is for sure. And I'm curious, it's like, where do you get that confidence from, though? Because I think most of us, myself included, I would love to be so much more authentic than I am. But it's the fear of, I think two fears, fear of reputational loss, like, oh, what are people going to think? And that affects your reputation, right? Type idea. And then also the fear of offense. Like I have a lot of fear of like, what if I say a certain thing or do a certain thing that offends somebody? How do you overcome that? Like what's your coaching you would give?
So when I'm interviewing prospective agents, one of the questions that I ask them is on a scale from 1 to 10, how easily offended are you? Because if you really rank low, we're not a good fit, and that's okay. Like I'm not a one size fits all. I totally get that. I'm a lot to swallow. But if you're cool with a swear word every now and then, if you don't mind somebody walking on stage in their underwear, I'm probably going to jive with you. And your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So I'm not looking to bring on everybody. I want people who are similarly minded. And I don't have a magic response or a magic pill for how to be just authentically you. I think honestly, some of it has just come with age and time. I just don't give an F anymore. But realistically, I've probably since I was 13 or 14, I've always just kind of had that, take me or leave me. That's your problem.
Yep. Well, there is a, I would call it like truth in marketing. We call it golden nuggets here on the show, but it is a great marketing campaign or great branding and marketing in general is like a magnet, right? It repels and it attracts. Because if you think about it in the human psychological sense, it creates emotion. The last thing you want in marketing is for your marketing to create no emotion. Because if you create no emotion, you will create no memorability, you will create no action. And so the reason why you want to have an emotion triggered, whether it's, hey, I don't like this person or I like this person, is because you want them to act. You want them to do something. It's like a phone call. When I'm calling somebody, the worst thing is them ghosting me. I would at least want them to pick up and hang up on me or tell me, F myself. Or tell me I'm interested, but just ignoring me is like the worst in it. So there is a golden principle there of just you've got to be willing. I think it was Grant Cardone's favorite or famous quote that I've said often is like 50% of the world hates me, 50% of the world loves me. Both days I get paid. And you're just like,
Absolutely.
yeah, I love that. It's, when like politics are won by having half the nation not like you and half the nation love you. We've seen that year after year. Now, I hate that part of the politics, but it's just the truth. Talk to us about how you think about recruiting, and how you like, are you a hardcore recruiter going out there? Are you waiting for people to come to you? Think about how you've built this team. Any advice you would give on people who are looking to try to grow their branch, grow their team, maybe they're a team leader, any advice in recruiting you would give?
Yeah, I'm definitely not a go out there and pursue people. Like, I'm amazing. It's a privilege to work with me. So you're going to pursue me, not the other way around. But in all honesty, a lot of my recruiting does come organically through social media. And again, I think it's a little bit vulnerable. It's 100% authentic. You either attract people to you, or like you said, you're a magnet, then you repel them, and that's okay. I've built a major collective of raving fans throughout my career, especially when I opened my branch in 2014. And they really, my current agents are the ones who are constantly referring other people to me. And the biggest reason for that is they know I will go to bat. So I might seem kind of crazy. I'm utterly ridiculous in most ways. But when it comes time to like, hey, I need help, I know my shit. I'm going to make sure that you know it. We're going to go to bat together, and I will 100% support you. And if you're wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. Like, I'm not Willy Wonka. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I want to make sure that you understand what we need to do to course correct, or how we need to find a solution. And I think just that willingness to really do whatever it takes to support your people, that just shines through in everything. My availability, I mean, I work somewhere between 12 and 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. Not the easiest schedule, but I love what I do. And ultimately, that's why I got into this.
I'm writing a book on teams right now, and trying to study like the most successful teams, or I shouldn't say most successful, but very successful teams. Some of them like, top of the top, and some of them more just good teams. And one thing that I've seen consistently of all the interviews I've done is that the teams that tend to be crushing it both in profit and in quality of life, meaning they like the business and the people they work with, they do not bend on their standards. They do not have any flex on their values and their standards. And they all speak of stories they didn't just come out of the womb that way. They lived flexing on their standards and realized that was the wrong route to go. And they just hold to their standards. Have you found that to be true in running your branch, that you're pretty much, you have to do these things, you have to show up these times? Like, how have your standards played into your branch? I'm just wondering if that's been consistent.
Yeah, and I think that that's such a wise thing to even consider. Sometimes I would say a lot of people, there's a lot of churn and burn on teams, because they're joining a team primarily because they have this notion that they're going to make all of this money through all of these leads that are coming in from some sort of third-party lead source. But at the end of the day, the teams that actually mentor and take care of their agents and bring them into those values, like you said, that's going to be the ultimate difference. And I think that that makes it easier for understanding the metrics and monitoring those metrics, because you know exactly what those expectations are. So anytime I'm interviewing with an agent, it is getting a sense of what are they looking for, because I'll be the first one to tell them we're just not a fit for you. If you're looking for X, Y, or Z, this isn't the place for you. But I've got some recommendations for where you should go, or who you should look for. But on the flip side, let me tell you what I expect, and let's see if we jive.
Yeah, that's such a great sales nugget too. It's the takeaway sale. It's literally, I don't know if this is right for you. I don't know if you actually should do this. Actually, you might need to consider going somewhere else. It's in sales, it's the great tactic in a good way, because you're not for everybody, and that makes the person think long and hard and actually makes them want to be with you more. And now you're not promising them the world where you're promising splits, commissions, technology, or something like that. You're actually making them have to go, yeah, I want to be here. It's not like you promised to take care of me and grow my business. It's like, no. You might not be a fit for us, because people who are fit for us, they do X, Y, Z. Is that you? And that naturally makes people want to actually do that.
And it's always interesting, because I've turned down really high performing agents. I mean, we're in the 30, 40, $50 million range, which at an average sales price at those times between 250 and 400, I mean, that's a decent chunk. But reputationally, they had already blown it in certain communities. And if I know that, and I'm not even that close to the field anymore, you're just not somebody I want.
We just interviewed Lance Billingsley and talked about like the difference between the agents that make it and fail, right? And it was like 13% actually survive. What do you see leading so many agents? The difference between the ones that survive in this industry and the ones that don't make it.
Yeah, two things: competence and consistency. I think the ones who are truly competent, and that's not to say that you shouldn't have that competence no matter what, but a lot of agents were getting away with not knowing really what to do, how to handle situations, how to fill out a contract correctly in the COVID era, because it didn't take much to sell a house. And now I think we're moving back into, you really have to know what you're doing and how to hold the deal together, because going under contract is just a small part of that. Being able to hold that together and successfully close, that's where you're worth your weight in gold. With all of the changes, and not only did we go through all of the changes with NAR and everything with the settlement, the Department of Real Estate in Arizona, they refreshed, touched, changed every single code in December of last year.
Jeez.
So we are operating on an entirely different wavelength now. I'm trying to keep up with all those changes and implement those changes and make sure you're compliant. That's just one phase. Then the consistent aspect is, you can't do 4 open houses, say nobody showed up. Well, I mean, of course nobody showed up. It's 106 degrees outside by 8 o'clock in the morning right now. You really have to get more strategic. You have to figure out what's working, and then you have to do more of it, because we're definitely in a back to basics market, which doesn't mean that, hey, teams paying for leads through third parties aren't getting business. But where I'm seeing agents capture more is definitely through the nose to nose prospecting. So you are doing networking events, you're doing open houses, your geographic farming where you're invested in specific communities. That's really where they are making it.
Yeah.
You do a lot of training, like more than I have seen, I think, or maybe because you're putting it on YouTube, maybe it's just more recognizable.
Yes. Who wouldn't want to see this on YouTube? Yes.
You really do a lot of like the educational part that I think a lot of people maybe don't get as much as. Did that come from kind of recognizing that from other brokerages, or like what sort of made you start kind of going down that route and then putting it out there for your agents and being very like collaborative but informational?
I think a lot of that, I'm an educator at heart. I was raised by teachers and principals. I think that that's just ingrained in my fiber of my being. But with that, that is where I feel so many things are lacking. That's where things fall apart. That's where lawsuits happen. And I want my agents, there's nothing that brings me more pride than an agent who is only 6 months in the business, knowing that contract better than somebody who's been doing this 20 years. And it's very evident very quickly into a transaction. So and I do this not just for my agents. I mean, my YouTube channel is public. I will invite friends through Facebook to attend. I have numerous agents from other brokers who will sit in my WTF classes, the what's that form. That's probably one of the most highly watched, because it's just line by line comprehensive overview of our different documents. And if you don't have that down, I mean, you're failing in your fiduciary duty right out the gate.
Yeah. Did you want to be a lawyer at one point in time?
Funny, why would you ask that? Yeah. That's actually what I was going to school for originally. And then I saw, I could really be invested in contracts and training without the typical 9-to-5 job and a lot more flexibility with pay.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that in your bio and in your history. I was like, oh, wow, she chose the real estate world versus the legal world. I think you chose wisely. No offense to all the attorneys out there, but I think you chose wisely. Now
Claude is coming.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit more tactically about your social, right? Because you're very good at it and you're putting out content. Like any coaching you will give other team leaders or branch managers of like what they should be doing on social and how they could think about it to tactically execute?
Yeah, so for me, I know who my target audience is, and those are other real estate agents. So obviously I'm looking, friending, growing accordingly. If this were not my position, if I were an agent, obviously other real estate agents are the last people that I would friend because that's not the group that I'm trying to grow and solicit to for all intents and purposes. I think the other thing that so many people fail at with their social media is definitely have a business page and have a personal page. Your personal page is going to take off much faster than a business page. So really maintain that 70-30 post control. So 70% honestly should be personal. I mean, people want to get to know you as a human. Again, your vibe attracts your tribe, like attracts like. They want to work with you because they like you for who you are. And then 30% should be business. And one of the easiest ways to do that and grow your business page is post business first. You can schedule it out that way and then just have it shared to your personal page. And I think that's just the easiest, most organic growth without paying for ads or other systems to post for you.
Yeah, yeah, agree. One of the struggles that I think a lot of brokerages and teams face is that you grow the agent, they start having some success, and then they feel they're not getting paid enough. And they feel like, they forget all that you've done for them. It's like, what have you done for them lately type idea, and they leave, right? How have you, if you have, figured out any creative ways to have those conversations around splits, conversations around how you present your value prop of why they should be at your brokerage and not, because it's just, or on your team or not, because that seems to be a common theme I'm seeing is you recruit these agents, you build them up, they become producers, then they go, hey, I don't like this 70-30, or I don't like this 50, 50 or 60-40, whatever your split is for the team. And now they have to have that combo and try to keep that agent or not keep that agent. What has been your experience?
So I think I would treat this, and I do treat this exactly the same way I would with a client. So first step is you have to set expectations. That is an upfront conversation. Like you already know that these conversations are going to take place in the future. You know what those pain points are. So why wouldn't you address them at the forefront? And to be totally honest, one of the things that you as a team leader might want to consider is some sort of tiered compensation structure, because they're not going to need the same level of assistance from you 8 transactions into this as they did on transaction 1. So
Right.
really considering what your formula is and how to modify that to keep good talent would be number 1. The second component to this is, again, something that agents really are not great at. You're not showing your value. And what I mean is you're doing all of these things in the background, but then you're not communicating what you're doing to your client, or in this case, to your team member. Why? Why aren't you having weekly team meetings where you're discussing, hey, here's what we've done this week. Here's what we're going to implement. Here are the tools and the resources. And here are the wins that we've taken as a team. And you get to participate in these things because you are with us. And so really it's just, this is a team leader failure, 100% on both accounts. They have no one to blame but themselves, again, for that churn and burn, because they're not taking the necessary actions up front. They think, hey, if I just set it and forget it, and they're getting leads and they're making the calls, but they're not actually checking in, I think that's where things fall apart.
Yeah.
How does an agent effectively show their value, like communicate that value to their client? And I say effective in the sense of like, can it be systematized? How have you seen the best agents like communicating that value to their clients?
Yeah, it can absolutely be systematized. I think just looping them into different things that you're doing. And AI, obviously, I'm old enough that AI wasn't a thing, back in my day when I had to walk uphill both ways to school in the snow in Arizona. But yeah, that ultimately there are systems that you can put in place. And a really good place for that is probably your CRM. If your CRM isn't doing more for you by actually having routine, hey, this is what's happening next in the transaction, here's where we are, where you could just script all of that out and know, okay, on this date, and this date, these are the things that need to be sent out. On this date, my calendar needs to send me a reminder to text my client about this. Where a lot of agents also fall short in this, though, is that's all based on transactions. You still have to be kind of their friend, their priest, their mother, because buying and selling is emotional for so many people. Not all. If you're a high C client, you don't need any of this garbage. You just want to know the facts. But the majority of people are on the INS spectrum for a disc profile. And so with that, I need to know, okay, sometimes they just need a little moral support. And that may literally just be calling them and saying, hey, I know we're at this stage, nothing's really happening, but I just wanted to check in. How are things going with this? How is the moving coming along? Do you need any extra boxes? Those types of things, that's what sets you apart.
That's
Yeah,
huge, man.
very
So
good.
that's why I'll never be an agent, because I am definitely a high C.
Yeah.
You mentioned AI. How, where are you seeing AI play the biggest role in your agents' lives? How are you seeing it, like, for benefit, or where are you seeing people kind of getting lost and maybe wasting time in it? How are you seeing AI being implemented?
So I think that AI, even though it's been around for a hot minute, it's still
Mhm.
relatively new as far as how do I make it do what I want it to do. And the most ironic part is it will tell you what it needs to do. You just have to know the right prompts to get there. And I think some of that, yes, it takes a little practice. But realistically, if you just talk to it like we're talking, say, hey, here's what Gemini, Chat, Claude, here's what I want you to do for me. It will start perfecting those processes. I think it's agents not knowing where to start. They don't know which AI system is best for what something they need to do, whether it's creating a market piece, it's creating systems, it's reviewing a document for any inconsistencies and making sure that it's what they're looking for to best protect their client. Of course, from a broker perspective, please, please, please do not rely on AI to write your contracts for you, or answer very specific contract questions, because that is job security for me. So if no other reason, please don't make me lose my job.
It is true that a lot of people don't realize that you can literally talk to your AI and then ask the AI to write the prompt, the best prompt for you to get the result that you're after. And so a lot of us think, oh, we got to become great prompt writers. Really, we just have to ask the AI to write us the best prompt. And we have to give AI the context. We have to give AI the data dump. And, Gary Vaynerchuk says this a lot, just turn it on and just start talking to it and then have it literally take that. I also love one of the things going back to your whole, communicating your value that I think is so powerful. And this is where team leaders fail when it comes to comp and commission combos and value combos. And then the agent fails to their client. It's like the number one thing in PR is you have to control the narrative. Mm-hmm. And what people just don't realize is silence, there is still a narrative. And it's the worst type of narrative because you're giving the power of the narrative over to the consumer. You're giving the power of the narrative over to that person. So when you have silence, and you're not sharing, it's kind of like your brand. Nobody realizes this, but everybody has a brand, whether you brand or not. Your brand is out there. It's just, are you controlling your brand or are you allowing the consumer to control your brand messaging? And so the same with communication to your clients. It's like when you're not communicating, the narrative's now with them. They get to now make up the narrative of what is Josh doing for me? How is he doing it? Versus when you're communicating, you now control the narrative. And it's like PR 101, communicate, communicate, communicate. Because you want to be on the offensive, not the defensive. And so many agents just don't realize that because they're almost nervous. I don't have anything to update. Perfect. Tell them that because now you're actually controlling the narrative versus them creating the narrative. Here's a question for you, right? You've been through a lot of probably ups and downs, a lot of, different things that have happened. What has been, one of the hardest adversities that you've faced? And how did you overcome that adversity? And what lessons did it teach you?
So, market related wise, I think everybody just started to suffer a bit during the Great Recession. And it changed on a dime. Like we can almost pinpoint the day that the market shifted, and it shifted hard. And I think in some ways we could have been a little bit ahead of it, but I don't think we really anticipated the severity that we were going to suffer through during those stages. So it was, how fast can I adapt? And this is definitely an industry where you just cannot become complacent. You have to constantly be ready to flip and do what is necessary to continue to be successful. And we're definitely in a shift now, maybe not to that degree. This has been kind of honestly one of the wildest markets I've ever seen, at least in Phoenix. Like our pricing is still continuing to go up a little bit, or at least stay relatively the same without really anything to benefit it on the flip side. Like the interest rates are still high, and worse than being high, they're just wildly volatile. And we just cannot seem to figure out how can we get something to merge from this where, okay, I need to learn how to do this, because we don't necessarily need to start doing REOs and short sales. Are they picking up a little bit? Yes, but not tremendously so. Still less than 10%.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it scares you almost like, is this the new normal? Is like this going to be the new normal of the market? And then we're all just waiting for the consumer to adjust, right? Because part of the reason why the market sucks is people are not, selling and buying at the rate we need them to. And you go, well, they're not, because they're under the impression that the market sucks, that they're waiting for interest rates to come down. Prices are too high. So you almost need it to be long enough to where consumers just go, no, this is the market. And if I'm going to move for my life, I have to move and deal with it. So it's a little bit of like, oh man, I hope this is not the new normal. I hope interest rates go down, because that would be amazing. It opened up so much inventory. I got a couple rapid fire questions for you here that would love your take. Number one, prospecting activity right now that you're seeing is working for agents. Where would you say?
So in Phoenix, it's always been open houses by like a significant margin. About 44% of new business comes from open houses. A lot of that.
Wow.
I think a lot of that is because we have so many active adult communities, and active adults, especially, one, they have the time, two, they're out there during the week, not just on weekends, but three, they still like that face-to-face. Outside of that, geographic farming would be the number two.
Okay, great to hear. Second is book. What book recommendation would you give to an agent right now that they should read?
Shift. I actually just did that for my book club a couple of days ago. Yeah, if even though it was designed for a slightly different market, those tenets stay true. Like, I would absolutely be looking at Shift, and I would really focus on creative financing, because like, as we're discussing some of the issues, let's look at assumptions and seller financing and what other opportunities might be out there to move these people into homes.
Yeah, great point. Okay, third question, knowing what you know now, what would you go back and tell your younger self, maybe that 16-year-old, 17-year-old? What advice would you give them?
Start getting into real estate sooner, not later. Don't play this whole thing about law school, because you don't need it. In all seriousness, I think it is just figure out what you want and start taking action to go for it. And don't worry about what people think of you, because again, what you're putting out there is what you're going to attract, and you'll attract the right people.
And they're going to think it anyways. So that is one of the biggest struggles of people, of life, is just controlling the narrative in your mind. And most of the time, the narrative in your mind is controlled by other people and what they think about you, or the structures that you grew up in, that, you have to stop and reflect and go, why do I even think this? Why do I actually, think this way?
Yeah. Get out of the box. The box is
get out of the box. Everybody's in the box. You just got to figure out what box you're in.
There you go. Awesome, Leah. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we close out, let people know how they can connect with you, follow you on social, YouTube, whatever.
Yeah, all that good stuff. So it's just Leah Kraemer. Leah Wolfe-Kraemer is the full name. So all of my name's under there. If you're more about my travel stuff, then it's Adventures with Leah Kraemer. But yeah, it's all out there, all the same handle, all the same stuff on Facebook. I'd love to meet up with people.
Awesome, Leah. Thank you again. And thank you all so much for listening. You can dive deeper into this episode, get all the links that Leah mentioned, as well as the video of this episode over at staypaidpodcast.com. And if you enjoyed this episode and want to show your support, head on over to YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and give this episode a thumbs up. You can get hold of me or Luke at podcast@remindermedia.com. And of course, you can follow us on all the socials as well at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Josh Stike.
Guys, I'm Luke Acree. Leah, thank you so much for coming on. You are amazing, and congrats on all the success. Seriously.
Thank you so much, guys.
Incredible what you're doing. I hear such amazing things about you in the industry. I was speaking at an event out there, and everybody was raving about you. So my action item to everybody listening to this is that, the more and more successful people I meet, the more and more, I realize there's this core tenet and principle, and it's they're living by their values. They're living by their authentic self. And that is so hard to do. And I challenge all of you, if you, right now are not sharing on social what you want to share authentically, or if you're not actually putting out there to the world what you truly want to put out there, you should stop and think about that, because your vibe attracts your tribe, as Leah has told us. And it's probably one of the things that's actually holding you back. And remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every business is top producers take action. Take action on that today.